All righty then. Now we're ready to have
All
that
right.
candid
All right.
conversation.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Love and Victory Show with Van. All right. Let's get this
Yes,
Candace conversation going.
we ready. All right. Well, we're going to start. I want to start off by introducing our guest, and I'm going to start with Miss Kimberly Smith. Miss Kimberly says she is resilient. She's a servant leader, compassionate, creative, relatable, and empowering. I want to say, when I met you just then, your embrace was so genuine. It was so warm and it was so welcoming. But I'm going to ask you, why did you choose these words to describe you?
Gosh, well, I mean, resilient is something that I do pride myself on. And, becoming a life coach and, my specialty is really helping people stop stress in its tracks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stop worrying so much so that they can focus on what matters
Mm-hmm.
and really live that life that they want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was really talking a lot about stress and anxiety. And little did I know that those words, they're very triggering sometimes for people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're not ready to admit that that's what's happening in our life.
Mm-hmm.
But the underlying thing that I found that all of my clients really wanted for themselves was they wanted to feel resilient. They kept feeling like they were getting knocked down by life and that they just, weren't sure if they could get back up again, right? They wanted to feel strong. They wanted to feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
So resilient just seemed like this all-encompassing word.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that one.
Okay.
And then compassion, I think it's such an underrated emotion. We're not really taught how to be compassionate.
It's either.
And I feel like almost in every situation, compassion has a place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually one of the first things to go, right? We lack compassion for ourselves. We struggle to have compassion for others, right? Which can cause a lot of drama, a lot of conflict, which are also really difficult, right? Those are all stressful things.
Right.
Creative, it's interesting. I, for years, would never have described myself as a creative.
Oh.
But, I found myself, I was working in corporate America for over 10 years, and I felt stifled. I felt like I just was lacking something. And the creative element was really something that I lacked. Now within my business, I have the capability and the capacity to really create whatever I want, right?
Right.
I mean, that's something that I've learned along the way in entrepreneurship is that there are no rules,
There are
right?
no rules. You set them. There you go.
You can do whatever you want, however you want. You can make it happen. And it's really fun. It's really fun to have those, elements of my business be a creative expression of who I am, but also serving and supporting the needs of my clients, which is obviously what my purpose is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, those
Wow.
are just a few of them. And then what were the other two words? Remind me.
The other two, I'm just going to say relatable.
Relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I love people. I've always loved people. I've always really had a wide network of people from different backgrounds and cultures, and been fascinated by, people who have grown up in other countries. And like, I'm happiest when I'm the most boring person in the room. Like, I want to know about other people. I want to know where they come from, what makes them happy. So yeah, I don't know, just relatable. Like, I'm always down for a great conversation and just to hear what somebody's story is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to digging into more of that personality and how it ties into how you serve other people.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, Miss Stephanie Lawrence. What's her name? No one can say it like Brother Carter.
No, I'm not doing no petty stuff right now.
Oh, did you see that?
It's still early.
It's still early. You know it's coming, huh?
It's coming.
Get into the show.
Okay.
I have faith.
You have faith. It's coming. Well, Miss Stephanie have been on the show before, and I will let her introduce herself since she's not a newbie.
Oh my.
Go ahead.
my.
Okay.
Mhm.
And just as you said that, I heard Jay-Z in my head. Let me introduce myself. My name is I'm Stephanie D. McKenzie, and I'm a speaker, teacher, author, and coach who is really excited about serving people and supporting them as they get empowered. And lately I've been talking a lot about people pleasing, but everything ties back into always being your own superhero. So,
and why did you choose empowering massive shifts for higher achievement? Why did you say that?
you know, most of the individuals that I serve,
Mhm.
they can relate to the narrative of people pleasing.
Mhm.
But people always think, oh, a people pleaser, oh well, they're not doing much, they're just this sad little person and they're just pleasing people. And I'm like, no, usually they're high achievers. They've done so much for other people. A lot of them have built companies for other people. They have led organizations. They're leaders. People are leaning on them. And so for me, it's about giving them that safe space that they need in order to, to shed the cape, if you will, because it's not about always doing for others.
It's sometimes
you got to do for yourself.
You must.
You must. And so shifting that narrative, so to speak.
Okay. All righty then. Oh, okay. I'm telling y'all, she's a treat. That's all I'm going to say. You guys are going to enjoy the conversation. It will be very candid. And she has some balls that she's going to throw it at us. Yeah. Just get ready.
Hey, Paul, can you hang in there with these two ladies?
Well, now I got it.
You got this.
Like amazing colleagues. I'm a little intimidated, but I'm ready.
You got this. Now I want to introduce to all, last but not least, Mr. Paul. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm so bad with names. Strobl.
Strobl. That's correct. You got it.
Okay, and I'm going to say he chose the word master life coach and entrepreneur and executive. But I really want him to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself before we get going.
Well, I'm a native Houstonian, born and bred, went to Cypress Creek High School out in the northwest part of town. And much like some other stories you've heard, I was in corporate America. I was doing well, but it wasn't really my calling. Yes, it was a career. Yes, I had a lot of gratifying things that happened and some achievements. And obviously, the money was good. It's kind of the golden handcuffs when you do well in corporate that you're afraid to leave. And I had a big tragic event that happened in my life that was the wake up call that gave me a big slap in the face and had me look at things in a new way. And that was the death of my brother who took his life in 2005. And I really do believe that death is the greatest teacher. Speaking of soul, that the first part of the acronym you mentioned, really looking at why you're here and what you're about. Nothing will do that like somebody close to you passing away, or maybe even having a close call yourself. That will get you very quickly to start asking different questions if you're not happy with the life that you have. And so that opened me up to say, hey, you know what? I really want to go this route of helping other people. My people are usually polymathic, entrepreneurial types. They have a lot of interest, very curious minds. And the trouble with having a curious mind is that, you spend your whole life of people telling you, hey, you need to pick that one thing. You need to do this. And you get all this message like you're doing it wrong, right? Especially sometimes from parents, because what does a parent want? A parent wants the safe thing for their kid. Right. And so they're like, do accounting or medicine or engineering or something that you know that you're going to have a good paying job afterwards. And if you have a curious mind and you like to try a lot of different things, you grow up kind of thinking there's something wrong with you, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that begs the question, how do you create a life and a career that you love and you're still able to pursue these different things? Because, to your point, listening to you, Stephanie, and Kimberly, both talking about all these diverse interests they have, how do you do it, right? How do you funnel all of that energy into one direction that makes sense in your career and still able to pursue these other things and fulfill the roles in your life? It's a lot. So I've worked with Rice University for the past 10 years. There's an entrepreneurial assessment that I work with. So I work with small businesses on the entrepreneurship side, and then on the other side, on the life coaching side, for many years. Since 2008, I've been working with all kinds of individuals, mostly from the Houston area. About 90% of my client base is Houston. The rest are everywhere else in the world, because everywhere else in the world is where I like to be as often as possible.
Well, I tell you, it's really an honor that you took time out of your vacation, and let the people know where you're vacationing at right now. So, because the Love and Victory Show, Val feels so excited to have you take this time out? Let them know where you're at.
Well, right now I'm actually in a place where I spend a lot of time because my wife is from this country. I am in southern Bulgaria, in the Rhodope Mountains, right along the border with Greece. So, so when we road trip in this part of the world, we've got Greece right there. We've got the coast. We've got great seafood and great red wine, and yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yes. So this is an honor when someone says, yeah, I'll do this. So I'm excited about this, and I'm just ready to jump into this conversation.
Paul, all the way from Bulgaria.
Yes.
Too much.
I know. Can you please just, you know, we're over here working. We're over here working, and you're over there vacationing and doing a little work.
Yeah,
So
special thanks to you, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm honored, really. Thank you.
And the way this goes for you guys that have never been on, I usually just go throw a couple of questions out there, and whoever wants to jump on it. If it's something in particular that I want to ask the question of one of you all, myself or my co-host, Brother Carter, who will specifically call someone out.
So before you get started, I'd like to ask Miss Kim a little bit more about herself.
Go ahead.
Who are you, Miss Kim, despite the words that are here? Where you from, and you know, the things like that.
Sure. Well, you know, I am a life, career, and business coach, and I do work with, you know, all types of folks, but mostly women who, you know, really want to, you know, women, mothers, and entrepreneurs. Those are kind of the niche there, and it's all about getting the mindset right, mindset, and you know. Also just, you know, getting to a point where they're at that baseline where they can then have clarity, direction, they can feel more comfortable in their life. And that all comes down to like that stress management piece.
But who are you as a person?
Oh yeah, so I'm getting there.
Chicken, there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up actually in upstate New York.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So born in Arizona, grew up in upstate New York, and moved to Houston actually in 2010. I was a engaged 25-year-old, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and like
in
so
love.
excited, right?
Yes.
And got married here in Houston. A couple years later, me and my husband were relocated to Jupiter, Florida, for his job. Actually, he worked in natural gas and for Florida Power and Light. And I went there with him, and, you know, we rented out our house here, and it was definitely a hard transition. That was a tough transition because we had bought a house here. I felt like, gosh, we worked so hard to get to this place. I was looking forward to life slowing down a little bit because we had just had all of these big changes, relocation, marriage, buying your first home, right? Life was speeding up very quickly. And then we had this reload, and you tried to embrace it, right? And go along with the flow. But initially I was working remotely for my company here in Houston, and I was in recruiting and staffing.
Yes.
And while it was working okay, I felt just so confined. I had no support system, no friends, no family. My husband would come home exhausted, and I'd be like ready to talk and engage and like, let's go have fun, whatever. And so eventually I ended up, you know, getting a local position with the Breakers Palm Beach, which is a luxury hotel and resort. It was an amazing place to work in their HR department as one of their recruiting managers, and very fast paced. I love a fast paced position. But, you know, after we welcomed our daughter in 2014, things really changed. You know, Paul mentioned like his life-changing event, right? And of course, absolutely, like mine was motherhood. You know, you become a mother and things just, your priorities change, you know, and there's so much that happens within yourself when you go from that, you know, individual person, an individual young woman to now this mother, right? And it's just such a different role. And, you know, I had a busy job working, you know, 50 hours a week. I was house manager. I've got a newborn, you know, unfortunately, like my ex-husband now, we're great co-parents, but he just wasn't the partner that I needed, right? So we really struggled through that time. We ended up coming back to Houston in 2016, hopeful to gain some, you know, balance and some foothold again, right? And kind of see if we could save things. And it was just really too little, too late, you know, and, you know, that was, I struggled with that for a long time, for years, right? Got myself, you know, in therapy, what got myself, that's really when, I mean, I've always been a personal development junkie.
I knew it was
Absolutely.
something, and we're going to actually dig into that.
Your resiliency.
There you go. Yeah.
And so, you know, and there's a lot of shadows, you know, you face your shadows and the things that like, gosh, like, why am I feeling this way? You know, and I was a people pleaser to heart, you know, so I mean,
and
sure.
I think, you know what, I'm just hearing that part, I think it's going to make your conversation so relatable to others. And so I really want us, and it's not that I'm cutting that off, but I want it to really come forward because there is someone listening that is going through that very thing that you have experienced. And because it's so relatable, I want, as we dig into this conversation, for it to come out more, because you're going to be able to help them. All three of you all are going to be able to help those people that are listening transition through that process.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, and just coming out of that and, you know, now just being in a completely different place in life, you know, and there were other things too, you know, your career, when you're under that type of stress, everything kind of breaks down, right? And it was problems start to crop up in your career, in
everything
your relationships,
that you do.
and everything,
everything that you do. But with that being said, I'm
sorry.
Okay,
I heard a lot what you said, both you, Stephanie and Paul. And the one word I have not heard you guys say is freedom. You finally have some freedom to roam as you want to roam. That's what I'm constantly hearing out of your conversation. Before we go and ask Miss Stephanie if she would tell the people a little more personal about yourself. Are you married? Where you from? You know, blah, blah, blah.
See, here he's already starting.
He's woke.
He's already starting.
He's woke.
It's not even 8:30.
Okay.
He's so ready.
He's so ready.
I'm like, my goodness.
Okay.
Well, you know, actually, I'm from East Texas, and I guess if there's a moment that really transformed my life, it was 2010 when my father passed away, and I did not see that coming, and that was my bestie, and I was like, what? But
that gonna wake up something over here saying that.
I mean, it really shifted a lot of things for me, and it was unfortunate that he would ask me this question all the time, and he would say, when are you going to do what you want to do? And I was like, well, I am kind of sort of doing what I want to do, you know, in my head. That was my, and he would be gone, I'd say about 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years before I figured out what he was saying to me. And that's when I really started to embrace the fact, you know what, you did everything that you're supposed to do. You checked all the boxes. You know, you went to good college, you know, did all this, you got a fairly okay-ish job. And we have to talk about that later. But you know, I'm doing all the right things that everybody would expect. And at some point, you know, I had always had a rogue side. And so I began to embrace it more.
All right.
Be a little bit more rogue. And then I got a little bit conservative on one side. And then, you know, I kept the rogue part because I think that matters.
It does matter.
It absolutely matters.
It comes with growth, you know.
It absolutely does. And so
there's a time and place for it.
It is. And I'm so happy that I kept that part of me, because in August of 2021, I resigned from my position to go back into full-time entrepreneurship. And that for me was completely game changing, because, you know, I was older. I was in my 20s the last time I was a full-time entrepreneur. I'm not in my 20s anymore. But that being said, that was really powerful for me. And so I've had those types of shifts in my life where I had to make a decision. Are you going to do what people want you to do? Are you going to do what Stephanie needs to do? And what Stephanie wants to do.
What your daddy kept asking you.
Exactly. I hear him talking. Like, I'm like, okay, Daddy, I got you. Okay, I'm here. I got it.
All righty then. Well, I think we pretty much know a little bit about all of you all, which is going to in line with the awakening this morning. So I'm going to throw my first question out at the beginning of this segment. It's going to be the journey begins. Okay. And with that being said, what are limited briefs, or how do they affect us in our daily
what are limited beliefs?
Limited beliefs, and how do they affect you in your daily life?
What are limited beliefs?
I'd love to jump into that one.
Go ahead.
I would say there's the three big ones. The first two that a lot of us coaches deal with, and the third one that I would leave to therapists. So the first two are probably the biggest, that most of us have some level of this, and you can test it by saying it out loud and just seeing what your body does and what you feel, right? So the number one out there that most people have as a limiting belief is, I'm not good enough. So you sit with that for a second and see if you feel something. You might feel it in your stomach, you might feel it in your chest, you might feel it in your throat. But if you got that, that means that belief is alive and well in you. The other one, the second one, is I'm not important. And again, this is beliefs. This isn't what you think. It's deeper than that. It's what you believe. And then the third one that I said I leave to therapists is I'm unlovable. Right? So when we don't learn to take care of ourselves, or we had a chaotic upbringing where we didn't feel like we connected with the people in our family, sometimes we carry that around. And all of those express themselves in different way, but just about all of them have one thing in common, and that is when we have that physiological feeling, when you have that feeling in your chest or your gut, you don't take action in line with who you are. You hesitate. And you don't go forward and take the action. And then you get to beat yourself up about not doing it and saying, oh, I should have been more courageous. I should have spoken up. I should have done this, right? I didn't speak up in that meeting. And all beliefs is a cognitive bias. It's your brain, at some point when you're 4 or 5 years old, whenever it happened, you decided this thing about yourself, that you're not good enough, or you're not lovable, or you're flawed in some way. And your brain looks for evidence that it's true and ignores all the evidence to the contrary of all of your achievements and everything else you do well. And so you can become a billionaire entrepreneur, cure blindness in children all over the world, and you can still wake up in the morning and say, I'm not good enough.
Wow.
So maybe that's not a limited belief. Maybe that is a true belief. So I think the limited belief would be saying the opposite. I am good enough, and saying it and really not believing it. It might be the limited portion of the belief of that. I concur with everything you said, but I would flip it. Instead of saying am I good enough, I would say I am good enough. That would be my limited belief.
Well, I think that that's a good way to put it, but I also think that a person has to get to that point to understand that that's their limited, because most people go in believing in their mind when they're that type of person. And please correct me, because I'm not a coach, nor am I a licensed person, but I think that most people that struggle with those beliefs, they really believe that that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, these are very subconscious level things, right?
Yes.
And, we go through life, just like somebody said, like checking the boxes, right?
Yes.
Like, we want to make people, like the people that we love, proud, right? We want to show that we are good enough, that we are lovable,
Right.
Another belief that a lot of my clients seem to carry around, like limiting belief that they seem to carry around and maybe not even know it, is the fact that they think that their needs don't matter, right? They are that people pleaser. They, oftentimes don't have any boundaries with the people in their lives. So they're always doing for other people. And in turn, they're neglecting their own needs, sometimes even their basic needs. But that is a subconscious thing. We live in this very shame-inducing society that says
shame-inducing.
It says if you're not X, Y, and Z, then you're not good enough.
Then you're not good enough.
If you don't have all of this, then you have to keep striving. And it's always this pressure, like this subconscious pressure to do more, to be more.
But is it a self-conscious pressure that's placed on us by someone that's not really doing it themselves?
Well, it could be. It's
Usually.
culture, right?
Yeah.
Like our overall culture.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like oftentimes we don't even know that this is, what we're feeling or why we're feeling it. And because in the busyness of day to day, not a lot of people slow down to really think, why am I doing this? And why is this making me happy? And why am I feeling like this? So
Wow.
it takes that being that mindful and intentional to really see some of these limiting beliefs surface, and then being able to really spend the time, obviously, reprogramming that.
Yes.
See, in
Wow.
my practice, we don't do limiting, we do binding beliefs.
Okay.
Because I believe that we have circumstances in our life that bind us to beliefs that just aren't true. And I think
Yes.
in that we recognize, okay, there's a source. This comes from, it's not just, oh, you woke up one morning, you aren't good enough.
Right.
You
It
woke
come-
up, it comes from
from something,
somewhere.
yes.
And you can unbind
Bind.
yourself and
Yes.
release yourself
Yes.
Agreed.
from those beliefs once you take back the pen and start to rewrite your own narrative. Because the problem with most people is that they are supporting actors in the narrative of their lives.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly.
Mm.
Woo,
And that's how
Paul,
you
you woke
regain-
something up here.
And that's how you get that freedom.
Yes.
That you're
Exactly.
talking about. It's like,
Exactly.
it's so liberating
Yeah.
Yes.
to see that and to redo it, right? To flip the script
Mhm.
and to finally start living by your own rule book.
And again, it goes back to what I was thinking. And again, I'm saying, is it that those things have been placed on us from
Birth.
birth, or from us growing up, or even from just experience?
Yeah.
I think
Things
it's
that
both.
Yeah.
I think it's observation.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that, and I like to make up things because as I feel like when we have endogenous terms to the work that we do,
Mhm.
it makes it harder for people to steal. I'm just going to be
Yes,
honest. 'Cause
yes.
coaching people like to borrow stuff. I'm like, I know I said that. So
Yeah.
we have this thing we call a Martyr Model. See, Paul's laughing because he knows.
Yeah.
And so,
I know too.
and you know too. Okay. I'm like, you'll look up and say, that program looks so familiar. But anyway, so when we were discussing the binding beliefs and people pleasing, I came up with this idea called the Martyr Model.
Mhm.
And it's as we are younger, we watch those people who are significant in our lives martyr themselves. They modeled martyrdom for us. Like if you had a
Wow.
mother or a grandmother or a sister, whomever took care of you,
Right.
and you never saw them do anything for themselves, they were always doing stuff for other people.
Mhm.
Then in your mind, you say, I love this person. They're amazing.
Mhm.
For
Wow.
me to be amazing,
I
I
need
must
to do that.
Exactly.
And then you
there
wake
you
up,
go.
and then you wake up one day, it's like, no, enough is this is not
Exactly. It's
this
not.
don't-
It's not working. It's not working.
It's not
Yeah.
working. Yeah.
And
Wow.
and Brene Brown, who's local here,
Mhm.
University of Houston, she talks about how shame is divided between women and men, and what triggers shame. And I hear you guys talking about the woman one, and what I mean by that is that for women, any shame trigger has to do with imperfection, right? So nowadays, not only does a woman have to have the awesome career, she still has to do everything else perfectly, be the perfect mother, the trophy wife, everything. And it's absolutely impossible
It's impossible.
to do.
Yes.
It,
That's unfair.
and for men, it's different. For men, it's more about being protector, provider. And so that's why when you see, a mine closes in a small town, and then there's all this domestic violence and all these other things that happen, it's because the men are getting hit with their inability to be a provider. And so that's a different type of shame trigger that is mostly affected by men, or appearing weak is the other one for men.
So Paul, I like you. I'm really grateful that you went there, because not often, and that's why we have every once a month we have from a men's point of view on the show, because a lot of times we don't talk about how things affect men, and we don't really talk about the men's from a man's perspective. And so saying that, and I really want to dial into that a little more about the triggers for a man. Because they hold on to their emotions. You guys really don't talk about it. But it does affect the home and the relationships. Could you give us another trigger that maybe one wouldn't recognize in a man's behavior?
Well, I'd say the big ones are what I was saying: safety, like keeping the home safe. So protector, provider, and weakness. And unfortunately, I think the socio-historic context of knowing America well. I mean, obviously each place has their own. is being the quiet, strong one is considered prestigious. Not expressing your emotion, and what's happening as a result. And you've probably seen all the statistics that are out there. Male loneliness is increasing. Suicide among men continues to increase. It's men are feeling more and more isolated, and it's a real problem. And I think that the number one thing that's driving that, or what's really happening, is there isn't a safe space just for men. And I don't mean that spouses aren't supportive. It's the man to man connection is not a safe space to really express oneself.
Well, could that be because you guys naturally don't talk? I'm sorry. I know.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. No. Man-to-man relationships are activity-based. They're shoulder to shoulder, right? Women relationships are face-to-face. It's more about the communication. And so it's sometimes it's just a question of finding time to go do the activity. When am I going to go fishing with a friend? When are we going to go have a drink together? When are we going to do these things? And they push it off saying, oh, I don't need it. I'm good. But then when we think back and we say, wait a minute, when's the last time I did see that friend? Yeah, I know what's going on social media, but we haven't gotten together.
Right.
But Paul, they really
see it's just not there.
But but finding the time and then pushing it off. Just my, again, I'm not a man. Just my thought sitting over here in the back of the room. My thought is, wouldn't you think that the time is there, but because they've gotten so comfortable with not going, they tend to just stay.
Blame it on the pandemic.
Blame it on the pandemic.
Yeah.
On this. How do you get them to, and I know that there is someone listening, how do you get them to a point that they say, you know what, I deserve to get out. I'm going to spend some time. I don't care if it's 30 minutes or it's an hour. I'm going to spend some time connecting with someone else, another male.
Yeah. One of the speakers or authors about this, he actually says Wednesday nights. Like Wednesday nights for most people, they can make something work. And so it was from, I think, the Boston Globe article. They talked about how he just kind of scheduled it. Hey, every Wednesday night, his group of friends, they say, look, if you can make it, great. If you can't, great. If you're in town, this is when we do it. And he just made that every Wednesday night. Everybody knows, everybody around the men know, okay, Wednesday night is the night that they get together and do things. And so he did it that way. And so I think it's really on individual men. If you're looking around at yourself and saying, I really do feel isolated, create it. You've probably got some people around town you wanted to get to know better, even if you're new in town, or, you probably have some old friends, and, just get past the awkwardness and say, hey man, we've drifted apart. Why don't we start talking a little more? Why don't we get together a little more? But it's that awkwardness that a lot of men avoid.
Look, I wish you could see these ladies over here. They're ready to just take over this. Paul, you have stirred up something here. Go ahead.
Paul, you've said so many amazing things right here, and I think that for sure, this is a conversation that I've had with clients, with friends. I've noticed it with my sister's husband, with other friends' husbands. That women, we definitely recognize that we need that quality time with our girlfriends. And so, and when we are with our girlfriends, there is that vulnerability factor where we're talking about our feelings and what's happening in our head, what's happening in our household. With men, what I've observed, because obviously when I was married with my husband, was that he would get together with his friends and all they would talk about was work. Or sports. Or something that was not about
very surface
level. They would not talk about how they were actually feeling or what was it. So they
emotions.
They were lacking that vulnerability with each other.
Man, how you feeling today?
Oh, that happens after the third beer. After the third beer, that's when the emotional stuff starts.
Hours and things like that. They're only going to get you so far in terms of filling up that need, right? And then also the communication dynamic within the household. As I work with a lot of clients who both of them are stressed out, right?
Mhm.
And for some reason they have a hard time communicating and acknowledging that, hey, we both need this. Let's be intentional about creating time for each other so that we can have that, right? Maybe that's every other Saturday we divide and conquer, and like you go and have just a day to yourself, right?
Yes.
Where you're not at the office, you're not obligated to the family, you're not whatever, right? So, but they're not doing it. So typically, you know, everybody's at their job, everybody's running themselves ragged during the week. And then on the weekend, you know,
Yes.
it's all about the family, which great, absolutely. But everybody needs alone time. Everybody needs quality time with their own circle. And oftentimes it's really just one courageous conversation and sitting down and really acknowledging it, that like, okay, how can we really make this happen for each other? And then there's also sometimes the flip-flop dynamic where maybe the husband or the one partner is always going out and spending time with their friends, and then the other person feels like they can't even ask for it.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And that's a problem, right? That you feel like you can't use your voice and you feel like you're not heard within that partnership. But yeah, I mean, those were my initial thoughts on it.
Well, you know,
Sometimes I believe, you know, as a
As a
male perspective, you know, when I was younger, that was important to me,
right.
getting out to fellowship with the fellows, and you know, and spending quality time with the wife. But as you get older, those things start to change in your life. You know, it's not so important. You know, I can't go out and play basketball like I once did. So it's not important to just go hang out with the guys. Every now and again, I mean, it's cool. I mean, just to do some male bonding. But you know, as life goes on, things change in your life. And so I believe each individual have to be comfortable with where they are in life.
But I agree with you. I think that you also still have to have that connection, because what I'm hearing the professionals say, and that's probably why there is so much suicidal.
Right. That's very
happening.
important for people that's really not comfortable with being with themselves.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think it's important that there is still that emotional connection that goes on. I think every individual, the way we were created as humans,
Correct.
need to still
crave
have
connection.
that. We still need that connection with someone, and it's not necessarily just taking time away from your spouses or your significant other, or doing something that is going to cause friction in the house, but it's also going to help the household settle. Because if you're always only engaging with that person or that individual, I believe what ends up happening, it puts stress. Can somebody talk on that a little bit?
It puts a lot. I've often told couples that we've been taught so many wrong things about relationships, is that we will put the marriage or the relationship as the load-bearing wall in our lives. And that's not the role that our relationships are supposed to play. And if you know anything, my father moved houses for 50 years, so I always talk in houses. If you know anything about a load-bearing wall, without it, everything collapses in. And I'm like, you've got to be your own load-bearing wall.
Yes.
And have your own support. But here's the thing, I'm going to say the unpopular thing. What I've also noticed about men and connection, and some women as well, oftentimes they have kept relationships past the expiration date. So even if they do get together, they are hanging out with people that cannot assist them in their need to grow and evolve. They want to talk about what we were doing in 1993. It's 2022. And you're like,
I'm sure you're still talking about that. But then again, that goes back to knowing when those relationships are out of season.
And see, that goes back to overcoming the need to be codependent and people please. So it all comes to, especially when men are taught to be priest, protector, and provider, oftentimes they will take those roles and create dysfunction out of the fact, well, I've got to be the protector, I've got to be the provider. But you're not with people that edify you. You're not with people that encourage you. And you may have chosen a partner that's also not encouraging you or
Mm.
edifying you.
Yes.
So you're just on a hamster wheel of dysfunction.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Talking about I got to make the donuts.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
like,
Lord. Y'all, this conversation.
Trying to make the donuts.
I'm sorry. If we don't pay some bills over here, this radio station is gonna cut the Love and Victory show off, and we'll be right back. They're getting ready to oh my God. Please, we're coming right back with that conversation because I think this conversation is a needed conversation. Wow.
And it's still the first question.
It's still the first
All
question. We
right.
haven't even went down.
Wow.
Are you ready?
We're going
Can-
deep.
can- All righty then. We are back. I tell you, we paid some bills. And now we're ready to get back to this candid conversation. Whew, Paul.
There's Paul.
There is Paul. Paul, are you ready for it? How's this conversation going for you on vacation?
I'm loving it. Are you kidding? This is great.
Okay, great. I just want to see if I can get to actually, if you don't mind, Stephanie, you were making a bold statement before we went to commercial. I want you to elaborate a little more on
Making the donuts.
there you go.
he's already started.
He's already started.
It's okay. I'm awake now. It's
Okay,
fine.
there you go.
I got it. We're here.
I just want you to take it there.
Well, I think we were talking about how, the need for connection is definitely there, but a lot of times, especially with men, they're still holding on to people that they're serving them something, but it's not what they desire or need to consume.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes problematic when let's say you do want to have those conversations, and you want to say, hey, this is what's going on in my marriage. This is what's going on in my relationship. If you are still tethered to people that haven't evolved past their trauma, who, love to be contagious with their drama, then the minute you say, hey, I'm having this challenge. Well, if I were you, okay, kiss of death.
There you go.
Stop talking to people who always start conversations with if I were you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think as a coach, the best coaches ask the best questions. I am I live for the moment I'm in session and somebody says, that's a great question. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. It does. I'm like, thank you. If you do it to me in conversation, I do
Or,
the same thing.
I've never thought about it.
Yes. High five. Yes. That's where my work, virtual high five, Paul. That's where my work is done. And so I now have a very visceral reaction to when people tell people you need to. Or if I were you, I'm like, first of all, you don't understand this person's path.
Right.
You need to be there to support them, but you cannot be there to purport your own idea of what should happen.
So, yes.
Wow.
Right?
That right there is deep. So you said a mouthful, and we're going to get off of the first question at some point. Paul, do you know we're still hanging around this first question? Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that when having a conversation with someone and they are expressing how they feel in a situation, and you come back with, this is what you need to do.
Correct.
You've already ruined the conversation. I
Correct.
mean, you've put a wall up.
Yeah, we're not in safe
Yeah.
space
We're not in a
anymore.
safe space
Right.
anymore.
We've disempowered them too.
Exactly.
Because you're really
Yes.
not empowering them to
No.
think about themselves as an individual and who
Correct.
they are and what they want, and actively make the decisions that they need to make in order to move in the direction that they want to go.
Correct.
So you're telling them how you want them to operate.
Correct.
Right.
Or
versus
how you wish you would have operated.
Oh, come on, that part right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because
There's a little
that's
bit of projection there, for
exactly
sure.
lots of projection, because you're telling them, well, I'm gonna give them the information that I wish I would have done. And I'm like,
Or I had the ability to take for myself.
exactly.
Mm.
I'm gonna relive my life vicariously through you.
Oh.
And that's not fair. So like I said, though we crave connection, we have to be mindful of the caliber of our connections, or we run the risk being connected to chaos.
Wow.
And confusion.
And
Yes.
confusion,
Oh.
Yep.
which God is not the author of.
And if
Okay.
y'all are not getting this candid conversation, something wrong. Well, I'm gonna try to get another question in here.
Let's
Go
do
for
it.
it.
I'm
Let's
gonna
go
try.
for it. Let's see what
I'm gonna
happens.
try. And actually, before I do
Who is
that,
KB?
oh, that's Kelsey. Okay, but I think I want to take Crystal. You're in the house. Crystal asked the question. I always have my team give us some questions to throw at at you guys. And so she has a question here, and I'm going to let her ask her question. Go ahead, Crystal.
I'm cheating.
Okay, so I got somebody over here looking to my right. Trying to see what my question is.
Okay.
I got you. So I know we had kind of already talked about our own little life experiences. So I'm just gonna take it another step further.
Go ahead.
In your experience, what does it look like when the soul is reawakening?
Paul?
I don't see that question.
I would say what it looks like. Well, I mean, there's what it feels like and what it looks like. What it looks like on the outside is, why is this person doing everything differently, right? why are they going about life differently? But on a personal level, I think when you feel it, there's this big aha, this big, oh wow, now I see, right? You might not have 100% clarity, but there's something in you that is like, I might not know what's next, but this isn't it, and things need to change. And to me, that's what it's really about.
Wow. Yeah. Whew. Okay. Anybody else want to take a piece of that?
Sure. I mean,
okay. That was deep.
That was. I love it. And I wholeheartedly agree.
Yes.
Right. There is that kind of inkling. You feel like that you're at this crossroads of, like, okay, what I've been doing obviously hasn't been making me happy. So I think there's a lot of questioning, right? You're questioning, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I working in this job? You know, what is this all for? I think a lot of people get to that point because of the stress in their lives too, because they do feel like they're on the hamster wheel. They feel like they're going from the time they wake up to the time they fall into bed at night. And then it's and they're on autopilot. And maybe there is like a big event that happens. Maybe it's motherhood. Maybe it's some other something. There's some type of trigger that causes them to kind of like almost snap out of it. And then they start looking at everybody else around them, and they're like I know I was looking at people
not
like,
working.
Like, I don't want to be asleep at the wheel like this. Like, I want to participate in my life, and I just don't want to feel like I'm going through the motions all the time, but I want to feel like I'm really living it.
Yes.
And so all that, the questioning of what people are doing around you and what you've been doing, and just reevaluating, which, this pandemic, I think has been that event for a lot of people.
I really do agree on that. Definitely. I really do agree with that.
Definitely. I feel like even before there's this feeling, there's a tension, you know, and I've talked about people. I'm like, you're not confused, you're conflicted. Because you're caught between who you are and who you desire to be, even if that's only not being who you've been. You know, like you were saying, it may not be, you may not know exactly what you want to do. You just may say, yeah, about these last 40 years. Yeah, that's all foolishness. Okay, great. I got to do something. And so you're caught in the tension, because anytime people change, there's always fallout. There's always subterfuge. We know that. And so in that confliction, you're like, well, if I'm not this, then who am I? If I don't do this, then are they going to be mad? You have a litany of questions. But the fact that you are asking the questions allows you to become empowered by the answer.
All righty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. I mean, there's nothing else have to be said after those statements.
Well, I can't drop this mic.
Brother Carter, you got something?
A question to the panel.
Okay.
For those that never seem to actually find that place of pure joy or happiness or whatever, all constantly seeking. Is it ever enough to say, where you are in life, I'm okay with this? Or do you constantly have to do better continuously through life?
I think you can exist in the duality of contentment, but still desiring more. You know,
couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely, I'd say both.
Yeah, I don't think, and that was a very, very good question, because I don't think it's anything wrong with someone striving to do better.
Right.
I do think that it's important for a person to enjoy where they're at that moment.
Yeah. I think that's a skill.
It's necessary.
To learn.
Because if you just keep running, you're just back on the hamster wheel. It's just a different wheel.
I think there's a difference. There's a big difference between feeling fulfilled and good and content,
Mhm.
and then continuing to go for more or better, or to better yourself yesterday, versus feeling that there's this huge chasm between where I am and where I should be. Right.
And that's what gets mixed up, because people tend to want to mix those two up, and it's two separate. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. We're so focused on the lacking, and we're comparing maybe to other people, and so we feel like there's this huge gap, and we need more and more and more because of the gap. But guess what? There's always going to be somebody with more.
Always.
So,
Yeah, like, what are your
so that's the crazy hamster wheel.
Yeah.
But if it comes from a place of, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, I feel really good about the roles in my life and the people around me, and I can do a little more. I can give back more. I can do this more. I think that's a completely different mindset.
Right.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna always find something that you can improve on in life, should I say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just never gonna stop.
Right.
And if you're comparing yourself to others, you're gonna never get to a point where you just say, I'm fulfilled. I'm at peace with this. I'm at ease with where I'm at in life.
And that's the one thing that I love about my husband. He's definitely a person that is,
God bless you.
He's very good. He's very content and good with him, in a non-selfless way.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is also, it's important that one keeps themselves engaged, because sometimes you can become, and that part is for me, because sometimes you can become so content in something that you stop growing.
Complacent.
Do you understand? And
is
then,
there anything wrong with being complacent?
I think so.
That's my question.
Yes,
I think so. I think because it gives way to stagnancy
and boredom. I mean, I think a lot of people are stressed because they're doing too much, but a lot of people are stressed because they're not doing enough.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And that there's that tension, right? The tension is always there, and it comes from some place.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe you need more excitement, and maybe you've mastered this, and maybe that's great. That's going well. That's working well.
Right.
But then what can you add to it?
What can you add to
be, just more fulfilled and more well-rounded, or
is there more to it than what you're doing? Because at some point, I think you reach a place in your walk, in your journey, that if you don't support others, it's all in vain to a certain degree. Like it can't just keep being, I need to grow. I need more. Give me more Deepak Chopra and Jay Shetty. No, maybe you need to become Deepak Chopra and Jay Shetty. Maybe it's now time for you to allow your message and your mess to be the message. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to.
Absolutely.
And
especially as coaches and life coaches and all of this is all about encouraging others.
Absolutely.
Other than yourself.
Absolutely.
But how do you,
and I'm a mess.
And how do you, as a person that really don't need, or you believe that you don't need, and Paul, please jump in if you can. How do you, as a person that believe that you really don't need anything else other than this, but the people around you may say something's not right, is you're just sitting over here idling by yourself? That wasn't about you.
No, I ain't talking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Consider the source.
I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, there are some people that are just like that. They're just content like that. But there are others that are depressed sitting in that area.
That's true.
There's a difference between that individual that's okay being here versus the other individual that is settled. He's settled. He's depressed about it. He don't want to be in this shape right here in life. There's a difference between
how do you recognize the difference?
I honestly think that it's individual, right? I think that there are people who are really called to share their knowledge and their wisdom and to really serve. And, having spent 10 years in recruiting and staffing and for all different industries, I found a very common theme that a lot of times people were unhappy with their career path or their job because they didn't feel it was meaningful, right? People really want to do meaningful work. They really want to make a difference, right? then there's these other folks that really just, they want more of a simplistic lifestyle,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Right? If you
Mhm.
want to go to your job and work at that same job and that makes you happy for 20 years or till retirement, and you just want to enjoy your family and live in a small town or do whatever, right? Then great, right?
Mhm.
But yes, then there are the people too who from the outside may have somebody in their life where they kind of see it like they're not happy. They're not taking the actions that they need to. And that's difficult, right?
That's
It's
become
difficult
more
to
the other individual's problem versus the individual that's in
well,
this
sure, we do. We take on the stress of
Yeah.
other people all the time. And when somebody in our lives is going through a really hard time, right? It's hard not to give them that unsolicited feedback.
Mhm.
But in general,
It's not hard.
it's not our well,
It's not hard.
well, it's hard for most people
I know,
to
but
be
it's not hard.
mindful about
Yeah.
it. It's not. It has to be, you have to be mindful about it. And most
Correct.
people, they want to help that person.
Mhm.
And the thing is that we are so uncomfortable with our own pain most of the time that watching somebody else in a place of what looks like discomfort, even to us, we can't even stand that.
Mhm.
Right.
That's
So
true.
we want to give them that gentle nudge. We want
Right.
to do
Could
that
it-
from a place, but it's their journey.
Could it be that people tend to want to and the reason I'll just full transparency, the reason why I'm going there, I had a conversation. You know, we as women, we talk a lot, and we talk about relationships, as we said, and where men really don't. And so I have a friend, a girlfriend that is kind of dealing with something with her significant other, and she's not she's an introvert. And he's more outgoing, and she's struggling with him not understanding that she's okay when she has to be out with others. It's more stress on her, and for him, he's wanting her to be out there, and that's not what she wants to do. So that's the reason why I'm kind of
I'm married to an introvert. Can I?
let's hear.
jump
Come
on
on,
the-
jump in there. Yes.
being married to an introvert, we had this conversation early on in our marriage, and it kind of went something like this, where she came to me. We have a very good communication, and she said, you know, I know that you like a lot more together time, that you need to be around people more, that you're more extroverted, and she felt, you know, like this tension, right, where she felt like she needed to give that to me to have more quality time together. And then what I told her was, I was like, yes, I do want quality time with you, and it's not going to be quality unless you get enough of your alone time. So the best thing for us to have quality time together is for you to go do your thing by yourself. Go to a yoga retreat, do whatever you want to do on your own, and that way, when we're together, it's good. But it's getting the understanding that one person is drained by being around other people and the other person is energized by it, and let it be.
Oh, that is some excellent feedback. Wow. Thank you.
But then there's also those moments when, you know, your spouse may want you with them. They
Right.
want to enjoy you in public. And so then I think we have conversations like, hey, babe, we're going to go out. Okay. I don't mind going out. How long would you like to be out? Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Can we stay for like an hour? I could do an hour versus, okay, I got to get it ready. I got to get out. I'm going to go into the abyss of people. He's going to be here all night. Dear God.
Yes.
Hey.
Well,
So
communication and compromise.
Yes.
Exactly.
Honor
Yes.
people's personalities
Yes.
and needs for social
that
interaction.
that right there, if you can
Hmm.
repeat what you just said for
What?
the people in the back of the room.
I mean, just
That
have a
was-
conversation. Like
Yeah.
people kill me in relationships, and it's like we have all these assumptions.
Yes.
And so if you're married to an introvert or you're dating an introvert and they like being introverted, they're not having a
meltdown.
a meltdown.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
know, they're not fearful, they're not agoraphobic.
Right.
Then, you know, I get that you want to go out with your person. You know,
Mhm.
y'all want to get cute and y'all want to do whatever.
Right.
And so then just talk about negotiate what that looks like for us.
Yes.
Because what most people don't understand is that when we're in a relationship, and especially in a marriage, if we don't win, there is no win.
There's no win.
So
Yeah.
it's not a win if she goes out for 6 hours while he's like, yeah, get it. And she's like, I want out of the room. I want out. Let's have a conversation.
Yes.
Babe, can we go for an hour?
Mhm.
Can you because then what that does is that sets a beginning and an end point.
Mhm.
So then I can manage the way I'm engaging. And then I can
Yes.
still be good and not want to kill my spouse in his sleep.
Right.
Wow, that is very good. Very good.
It all starts with the conversation.
It does.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And you get and I think
Whole conversation.
Well, for sure. Because it can
and
arrest people.
I think you can't have the conversation. I think the conversation.
Go ahead. What were you
Yeah,
saying?
you can't have the conversation unless you have the language. I think it comes down to emotional
That
literacy. And again, especially for men to really understand what's going on and being able to articulate it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that, then the conversation doesn't go anywhere. It kind of goes in circles.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I think is kind of the root of everything is if life is all about our relationships, which I think that is true, that we're wired to be with other people and to connect with other people,
Mm-hmm.
then we need to understand ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
Before we can relate better to other people. We can't be blaming other people for how we feel. It's an inside job, and if we don't know how to name what's going on and how to talk about it, then it's going to be hard for everything we do in life.
Yeah. And just to add on to what you're saying there, Paul, you can't go into the conversation with your own expectations of what you want this conversation to be
about to win.
You know,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because you're going
you
into
got to go in expecting to understand someone before, prior to, should I say, being understood.
Curiosity
Yes.
and compassion.
Yes. Wow. Whew, okay. We got through the. Do y'all know we are still in the first segment?
I want Diane or somebody to read that quote that they have down there.
What quote?
There's a quote right here about you can choose the canvas or paint in life.
Wait.
Let me put my face on.
Yeah,
so
you got to take your.
You
got to take your face off. Thank you. We was running. They got you over here. Go ahead.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, go ahead. It's from Kelsey.
It is from Kelsey.
Yes.
Okay.
What is your insight on this quote? You can't choose the canvas or paint in life, but you decide the picture you'll paint.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
You can't choose the canvas or the paint.
But you decide the picture you'll paint.
Wow. Who wants that? That's my team there. I tell you, they cold. Like they got. Okay.
That sounds so limiting, though.
I know. I'm like, I would actually argue that I can choose the paint and I can't choose the canvas.
Okay, well, come on.
Wait, and I can choose not to paint.
There you go. Okay,
Yes.
well, dig in there.
But I'm going to put it to you like this, the way I
interpret that.
Come on, Petty.
The way I see it. So what I'm seeing is that you cannot choose your parents or your siblings and the things of life.
Okay, your perspective.
You can't.
You sure?
This is just my perspective.
You sure?
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't choose your parents.
I can choose who I call family.
You can't choose your own parent. Your parent.
But
you can't choose your upbringing.
You choose it.
Your upbringing
but at some point, you can make a choice to vacate and abdicate the relationship.
That's you painting the picture the way you want it now.
But you said I got the canvas.
This is our DNA.
This is
right?
Right. Okay. No, you can't choose it.
Yeah, you can't
your
choose
genetics
that.
or your
No.
DNA.
You can,
But I can choose to not keep painting on that canvas
Yes,
if it's
you can.
warped and
But you ain't gonna learn what to paint until you grow up, though.
maybe.
Well,
You know, when you at home, and I'm going way back
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
to the canvas
Yeah.
and the paint, which
Yeah.
is where the beginning starts.
Yeah.
You can't choose that.
Okay.
That's just you just born and you just into this.
So in
family.
other words, I carried this child. Now the child is born.
And all of the dysfunction that you grew up in,
Mhm.
that most of us grew up in, you can't choose that. That's something
As a
that's
child.
just part of who
Now
you
I will
are in
say
life.
there is a spiritual school of thought that says that we choose our experiences.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Yeah.
So it depends
when
where
you-
you're coming from in that idea.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There's a variety of schools of thought. on that.
I actually love that. I love that perspective. I spent many years in South America, and in Spiritism, they say that's the belief, that you choose your life, that your soul chose the life. And so for people that have a really rough upbringing, I like to do that. We play with the perspective. It's like, well, what if you chose it? What if your soul wanted the lessons of that harsh reality and needed it to grow? What if, right? And it's not about it being true or not. It's trying on the perspective of, what if I chose all these events that I have in my life that I'm treating, great. I'm looking through this lens of victimhood, but what if I chose it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just a school,
yes.
And there's many schools. If we're gonna go back to DNA and predestination and coming in, and I mean, there's so many schools of thought on what that is and what that looks like.
Well, I have to agree with you too. But actually, I agree with both perspectives, because it depends on what lens are you looking at,
right?
And what canvas is in front of you.
Always.
But I do believe at some point, you can choose to paint on that canvas, or choose to paint,
or keep trying to color correct.
You can choose, or you can keep saying, "Well, I'm just going to stay in this gray area," because you don't want to correct.
Right.
So I would agree,
and I agree also. But
your perspective,
my perspective is seeing the canvas or the paint as your upbringing. That's the way I'm viewing it.
Okay.
I see this as your upbringing.
I receive
you don't
that.
have a choice on your upbringing. You're born into this world with a set of parents, with some set of siblings, and you had no choice with that.
Right.
But as you grew older, I'm not saying you have to accept what you grew up in as life to be what it is. The picture that you paint is what you make out of it once you grow up.
Absolutely.
Because we all grew up in some kind of
something.
Dysfunction.
I think that's about all periods, right? There's somebody has a blue period, and then they have because they learn how to express themselves in a different way. So I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just we're just talking.
Well, I think
it's candidness.
I think what I like, and the good thing is about this conversation is that we're getting a diverse point of view, because when the point of view is all the same, it's kind of like going to hanging out with the same type of person all the time. Well, what are you learning, and where are you growing?
Nothing.
Because you're still getting the same perspective,
right.
So you're going to keep doing the same thing. So I think that this was
good.
And they're probably co-signing your nonsense. So
what? You speaking this corner over here? What did I love, but y'all have to see how she laid back with it.
That's Petty with a purpose over there.
No, that's you. I love it. I love it. Go ahead. I want to throw this out here, and this is from Diana. I have one for you. I've been sitting over here waiting on her. Diana, you have a question, and if you
over here trying to get
I don't know who she's talking about.
Okay, Diana. If you could go ahead and go with yours. Diana has a question for us.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The question would be, why is it important to work towards healing?
Good point. Okay, coaches, experts in here.
I'll
y'all
jump
got
on that
quiet.
one.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll jump on that one.
Yeah, jump on it, Kimber. Go, girl.
I mean, like you said, we all grow up with certain things that have happened to us, certain experiences, certain traumas, right? And I think, when we're young, well, first, our brain isn't actually fully formed enough to really be able to dissect some of that and reflect on it. That's why, in the beginning, maybe it feels like we don't have a choice because we're kind of locked in that like immaturity, right? But our soul is meant to evolve. So you get to that certain place, you get to that trigger point in life where, something happens and that awakening starts to, transpire for you. But yeah, I mean, I think healing, recognizing those things that have happened to you, because we don't always face them initially, right? We love to avoid our emotions. We're not really taught how dynamic emotions are.
Mhm.
And so when we hit that trigger point and then we start to evaluate everything in our current life, then we start to look back even further and we start to realize that we never actually understood the things that happened to us in the beginning, right? So it's just been this compilation of confusion that we're now starting to kind of weed through. So like healing some of those things, forgiving some of the things that have happened, I think it is important to heal, because a lot of times we do feel like life is happening to us. We get in that martyrdom or that victim mindset. And that is just a tough place to be, because the victim says like they have no choice, that there's nothing that they could do to move themselves in a new direction. And I definitely went through that 100%. I mean, you know, having to kind of reconcile some of the things and you know, forgive a lot of, you know, my parents for certain things, my siblings for certain things. Like, I think that has the power, and it has, for me, allowed me to accept myself on a deeper level. It's allowed me to accept the other people in my life, which, you know, my family, they're all big personalities. They have a lot, you know, a lot of Aries energy in there, a lot of Sagittarius.
Bless you.
And I'm a Libra. So
my God.
Bless you. Oh my God.
All right.
So, you know,
Bless y'all.
it allows you to,
Bless y'all.
Bless y'all.
Bless you indeed.
allows you to understand people, and then just like that forgiveness, that to me was freedom, right?
Yeah, speak on it.
To really forgive myself for past mistakes, to forgive the other people in my life, that has allowed me to take leaps and bounds and just like, you know, move forward in ways that I didn't expect that I ever could.
When do you know, and I know that I want other people to have the same opportunity to answer this question, but I want to ask this out here. When do you honestly know that you've forgiven yourself? I didn't say other people. I said yourself. Anybody can jump on that one.
Yeah, for me, it was when I wasn't afraid to talk about it. When there are things that, like, I mean, I definitely did that I was not proud of, right? And now it's like, there's no shame attached to it any longer. There's actually self-compassion and self-love for my younger self, that like, and this, you know, young girl and this young woman who really just wanted people's approval and really just wanted to be loved, and she wanted to like do all of these things, and she just didn't have quite all the pieces yet, right? You know, and that's something that I have a lot of compassion for. And even looking at, you know, other people, you know, you interact with and you have experiences with, and like you may leave you with that question mark, like, and then you think, gosh. You know, they're probably in that time and space right now.
Yes, because you can see it. It becomes more. It becomes more clear on the other side. Anybody else want to talk about when they?
And sometimes you can forgive someone for something they've done to you, should I say? And they may never recognize or acknowledge that they've done it to you.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so that.
But the question was, when do you forgive yourself? Because it's very easy for us to always say, I'm forgiving someone else.
Sure.
But the problem comes in that you never forgive yourself. So really,
how do you know?
Isn't that part of healing?
Yes, but the question it should be, because here's where the trick is. I forgive you. That's, you know, that's what I'm supposed to. I forgive you.
Because that's externalized.
That's externalized, because that's still taking it away from me. But have you really forgiven yourself? Because there are things that you could have personally inflicted on yourself.
Correct.
Or someone else could have inflicted, or situations, but you're still harboring that. So the question.
So that's when you know, in my opinion, you know for a fact you have not really forgiven yourself when it's still affecting you in such a powerful way.
Right.
That's, I believe you know when you truly forgiven, when it's not affecting you anymore to that level.
Like that.
When the negative emotions have really been diluted to a point where, like, you know, yes, there's still things that like crop up, right? Because grief is such a, you know, you can kind of come and go through different periods of our life. But yeah, when you're not having that visceral reaction to like, like, I can't believe I did that, right? Yeah. You know, and it's just like, it's something that
circumstance
rises.
And I think it's a point of self-reflection too, I would say, just because moving on, and once you kind of even something traumatic can happen in your childhood or youth years and it can still affect you. But as long as you look in yourself and kind of forgive yourself for feeling like that, or even not even saying like it's okay to feel like that. You don't have to go so hard or be like this on yourself. You're human. It's okay. So I think once you take that part of actually looking back, reflecting, and then seeing like how did I actually affect this problem, or how did I cause it, or whatever, then you can start your journey to forgiving everything else. But
because it is a journey. It's not a one and done.
And that's why what I wanted
need
to
talk
hear
about. Yeah, it's not a one and done. It's ongoing. Because, and I think you can tell definitely in how you communicate, like how you tell the story. Something I always say is wounds yell and scars tell.
Yes.
And so when you go to tell the story, all of it, and then the wound is screaming.
Yeah.
Okay, it is screaming.
Yes.
And people will say, "I'm not angry." Then why are you yelling?
I feel like if you just if you're not bothered about it, it shouldn't even get you to the level of a 5.
Right.
Exactly.
You should be like, okay, well,
exactly.
And that goes back to my question. And that's what's so important. Before you can even start to say, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, it's an internal thing.
It's gotta be.
You have to start with forgiving some of those that hurt and that
And
pain
that you
within
can't do on your own.
No.
Some can.
No,
It's possible.
You can.
At some point.
Yes, you can.
You have to reach on high for certain.
Oh well,
level of
absolutely.
forgiveness.
I agree with
Definitely
you.
And I
something
also
greater
think
than
it
yourself.
depends on the
Yeah.
strength of the person too. Because if you are not like in that right headspace or not ready for that change, of course you're not going to.
Absolutely.
You're not going to. So you have to build that strength up. You have to make yourself ready for that, because if you're not, then what's the point?
I also think that, and I'm going there for a reason, because we are on a Christian network, a station, and of course that God is the head of my life, so I'm not pushing anything on anybody else. And so we talk a lot about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that is the core of who we are.
Yeah.
But we also do things in tradition, because it becomes out of a routine, because we say it so much that one tend to, okay, I'm supposed to forgive, so I forgive you.
Right.
I forgive you.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I've forgiven you. But in the core of that, my belief, in the core of forgiving anybody, I believe it has to start with you. You cannot just walk around, I forgive you. I forgive you.
Like you're bestowing it on them.
Yes, because it's really, that pain is still sitting there,
right?
And it's sitting in a dormant state.
And people are lying.
Yes,
because
just call it that.
They are lying because, like you said, oftentimes in tradition, you gotta 70 times 7. This was me. That's 490. Let me get to counting. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, you're at 489. Like, let's be clear.
Let me just keep forgiving.
Right,
yes.
But it's like, are you forgiving and then
For
getting
the right
into
reasons.
exactly for the right reasons? And is that putting you back into a position where you are ultimately still having the same experiences?
Well, and that could also be like the people pleasing, right? Because
Correct.
we think it's something we think we have to do,
Yes,
or whatever. And
it's
like,
cyclical.
It does come in your own time. You have to process those emotions. You have
That's
to
right.
actually
That's
sit
right. That's
with
right.
those uncomfortable emotions. And
That's
like,
right.
I had a client recently that, she's just gone through a big breakup, right? And she's like, trying to, go out and distract herself. And I was like, well, what if you could just make space and be with this pain,
right?
Like
this grief,
the grief and the pain and the sadness and all of the emotions. What if you weren't trying to hurry yourself through it, right?
Right.
Yes. And or hurry yourself to that forgiveness point or to whatever, it is. You gotta sit with it.
That's toxic positivity.
That's that thing right there. And I'm so glad you brought that out. And the reason I really was hoping that because I didn't know I'm not that intelligent as you guys.
Yes, you are.
I'm just giving you guys. But the reason I wanted to get there is that you have to sit with that for a minute.
You do.
Before you can actually go into the forgiveness space.
You have to grieve.
You have to. We had someone just put a comment up. You want to go ahead and
the comment was, and it's from Miss Lanita Bennett. It says it's a process and does not happen overnight. Forgiveness has to resonate internally so you can forgive externally.
100%.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So
yes. But a lot of people don't get, and I think that's the challenge, right? They don't get to that because they're too busy trying to, in fact, they're not even allowing divine wisdom to
Mhm.
tell them
Talk.
how to process
Mhm.
because they know
Blocking it.
everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
They know
Yes,
everything.
They know all the answers.
They know everything. And so I'm not going to sit and allow divine power, God, Yahweh, whatever you call it, to come into me and say, you know what, about that situation.
About that situation.
Because that we're lacking the humility. We're lacking the ability, if you will, to fall prostrate at the problem and say, okay, whatever I need to get from this, whatever I need to glean from this, I want it. I don't need to go around and do this surface. I forgive you. We're
you.
blessed and highly favored.
Favored.
Hallelujah.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
bless your
we don't
heart.
have to do that because I feel like when we suppress and we press those feelings down, not only are we being insincere, and not only are we dishonoring ourselves, but
you're just lying.
we are but we're also
straight
we're
up.
also creating a breeding ground for disease within.
Yes.
So it's a whole thing.
It's an avoidance of one problem, and then that leads to avoidance
Exactly.
of other problems, because emotion is, really at the root of, all of our experiences.
Exactly.
We have emotions that go along with
And
it.
our mind and body are connected.
Yes.
I think I want to put up, if you could put up in the thing, avoidance. Crystal, just put the word up, avoidance, because until you deal,
Correct.
I don't care. And I'm really putting myself out there because I was really in a very, very dark place.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to deal with some stuff.
Sure.
And
We've all been there.
because I didn't want to deal with it, it was always lurking.
Correct.
And so things I would, and then of course I heard everybody would tell, just forgive them. Just forgive them. Just forgive them.
It's deeper than that.
No, you've got to deal to heal.
Well,
You've got to feel the deal
well,
to
yes,
heal.
yes.
And here's the
Because
thing.
hiding ain't healing.
Because true forgiveness really is not about the other person.
It's really
but
not.
I think
No, it's really
I
not.
think what we do to people that are going through that process or in that pain, when you even saying that word, is kind of like we talked about the death of losing your father. And I don't know why this conversation is taking me there, but I'm going to go
Let's
there.
go.
When I lost my father was, oh my God, he was my everything. There was no man stronger or better than him. And so when I lost my father, everyone told me he's in a better place. Move on. Get over.
Right,
and every time I heard those words,
I wanted to choke somebody
it
out.
it was almost like
you know where he is.
it was almost like someone was taking their fingernails and dragging them down.
Yeah, because you don't know where he at. No,
Yes, and so then
because our hope is he in a better place, and we all in a better place.
Right.
And
I
then
hate people saying
and
that.
then I heard people say, well, okay, they was just looking out for you, so you need to forgive them. Forgive them. It's better for you. It's better for you. Forgive. And the more I heard those words, it's for you to forgive. It seemed like it took me further into that dark place.
Yeah.
Because
the abyss of life.
Well,
right?
it took me into that dark place. And what happens is, I believe for me, what happened to me was it didn't allow me to feel.
Correct.
And so when we tell someone that healing, forgiveness is for you, you don't, and that's true. It's very true. And I understand that once I got to that place.
Right.
But I think what we do is we don't give a person a chance to process what they're feeling at that moment.
Correct.
And so I think the best thing that could have happened for me at that time is just pray for me. Just encourage me, just hold my hand through the process.
Don't give me any platitudes.
Yes. And I think that's where I think we make a lot of mistakes with that. Bestowing our feelings and our thoughts on other people.
Yeah.
So
well, that's what Kimberly said earlier. Didn't you say something about we're so uncomfortable with our own pain?
Yes.
And so, and then of course, when we're dealing with Christianity, we want people like, okay, get over it. Oh, it's fine. They're in a better place. It's fine. The Lord doesn't put anything else on you than you can bear. And you're like,
Give me a break.
Please stop. Like I can grieve. I am allowed to be sad. I'm even allowed to be
Yeah.
angry.
Yes.
Jeez,
Yes.
give me some room.
And I think the best thing in a moment when, especially as somebody that the relationship has a lot of value in your life, is just ask, what does support look like?
Exactly.
What would support look like?
What do you need? What do you need? 4 words.
Wow. Wow. Whew. Well, I know they're over here throwing these cards all up at me. Y'all find
Quick
the
break.
quickest break you can find. I mean, Paul, I'm sorry, the quickest break. But before I go, I want to give a special shout out. Could you, Vernon Henry just said something. Can you read his comment real quick, Crystal?
His comment was,
where did it go?
It's right.
Oh, here it is. When you have forgiven yourself, your view of the world around you begins to change.
Simple.
It should.
It's just that simple. Vernon, that was spot on, and we
Yes.
appreciate your comment. We're going to take a really, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. They're going to find the shortest. I don't even want a long song. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to let y'all do what y'all do, but make it quick. Thank y'all for just letting us take a quick break.
And welcome back to
And
the Love and
welcome back
Victory
to the
Show.
Love
with
and
Val.
Victory Show with Val. I don't see Mr. There you go. Paul, we wish you was here with us too. We're going to fix that when you get off of vacation. You're going to come in studio with us.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Okay, then. Whew, that was some deep conversation. And I don't even know where to. Whew, I just want to come right back with next question and this one is from Crystal. As a coach, have you ever experienced self-doubt? And how did your journey help you in the way you reached your client? Wow, that's a good one. All right, Paul.
Heck yeah.
Okay. Come on, Paul.
I would say even starting out as a coach, right? Like you're starting a business. It's an entrepreneurial journey. It's sometimes I have people who say, "Hey, I'm thinking of being a coach because it looks like a really good business." I said, if you're just doing that to make money, you're doing the wrong thing. There's a lot of other things that could make money if that's your main concern.
Right.
And so, in the beginning, it's you have the self-doubt that a lot of entrepreneurs have. Like, am I doing it right? Can I really serve my clients in the way I want to? How do I find the clients that I love working with? You have all of that. And it's, again, I think the entrepreneurial journey is one of personal growth because you're faced with so much things not going the way you want to. You hire somebody and they don't perform the way you want it to, and you have setback after setback. But when you have a calling versus a career or a job, you keep going. And I think that's what it is when a client has self-doubt. I think the most important thing is to tap into what is the thing that inspires them about their future. Finding what that inspirational, not motivation. Motivation is kind of like pushing yourself through something difficult, and motivation kind of wanes. It goes up and down. But when you're inspired, when the vision is truly there of what really kind of matters to you, it pulls you toward it, and you get out of bed in the morning because the vision is inspiring.
Yes, 100%.
Spoken as a coach.
Yes. And I'll jump off of that because there were so many things that, yes, I agree with Paul. Like, growing into this entrepreneurial journey is definitely one of personal development. And even if you have dealt with a lot of your things, you encounter new triggers that cause some of those, old wounds to maybe resurface, or grief to resurface, or insecurities to come to the surface again. And to go through that self-doubt, yes, the vision for sure, the calling is super important, but then there's that spirituality component too. I think that it's very humbling to be in this position to help others, right? And then also realizing that I don't have to have all the answers. Like, nobody wants a perfect coach. Like, nobody wants a perfect coach that's never been through, some of the crap themselves and the stuff, right? And even us, we're on our own journey. So we don't have everything figured out, of course, right? But leaning into that spiritual side of it, I grew up Methodist, Christian, right? For years, I was kind of separated from my spirituality. And then really it's come full circle and it's evolved even further. And so, you know, on my hard days, or if there's a hard situation, like I absolutely ask for guidance.
Yes.
I'm willing to see things from a new perspective. I'm willing to be led. I am willing to do my part, right? And, you know, you ask those questions and that divine guidance absolutely shows up sometimes in those moments, right? And not getting too in your head about it, but just being present with my clients. I find that so many things just come through naturally in ways that you just can't prepare for, right? You can't prepare, like we prepare for our sessions, and we do our things, you know, obviously ahead of time before meeting with clients, but then there's those things in the moment that just come through.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, spirituality and leaning on my faith has been huge in just kind of overcoming that self-doubt and not getting caught up in it.
Yeah. That's what's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm the weirdo because when I came into coaching, I didn't want to be a coach. I did not. I've had a business since I was 9. I've run quite a few. I even run a couple in the ground, but I'm like into the ground, like Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings, you know, like photo.
I love it.
So when I came into coaching, I wanted no parts. I was at that point in time, I had my marketing agency. We were award winning. It was great. I was doing celebrity events, and I ended up on a project with a dating site. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And then at some point it wasn't awesome. And so I had been building the brand and social media, and people are like, I love your post. I love it. What do you mean? Well, the linchpin was for the dating site. I said, let's do relationship education. I love education, always have. And so I'll go get certified as a coach because I thought it was asinine for me to say, hi, I'm the director of marketing and I teach relationship education classes too.
But
I thought that was asinine.
Yes.
I thought it was asinine. So I said, you know what? I saw this thing. It's called coaching.
Yeah.
I'll go become a certified relationship and life coach.
Right.
That made sense. And then that would bring some validity to what I was doing versus I teach relationship education because I'm a marketing person. Like what? Anyway, it's like
that don't
like,
make
mixed
what?
messages.
It doesn't go together, right? So I'm getting the certification.
Say choose one.
Right. It's like, what? Like, she made that up. Yeah, I kind of did. But, you know, so I'm getting the certification, got the certification, the project goes defunct, and here I am left with the certification. But I didn't want to be a coach.
Wow.
I had arguments with the divine. Like, I am an award-winning marketer. This is how I look. Face up. I am an award-winning marketer. I do not want to do this. Why would I want to do this? I don't want to do this. But at some point I acquiesced. And that's how I came into coaching. So the doubt for me was, do I even want to do this? Because the entrepreneurship part never really bothered me. That's a huge part of my narrative. My father owned his own business as well. So that was a huge part of my narrative. But then getting into it and then the transition, because my business coach would tell you when we started working together, I was bottom basement because I didn't talk to other coaches. I did my pricing structure like a very expensive therapist. So a therapist is about $100 an hour. I was doing $600, $700, $800 packages because again, I didn't talk to other coaches. I didn't know this was the thing until he made me go for it in 5 figures. And then I'm like, oh, okay. But even then, I think that's where a piece of doubt comes in because it's like, did you just put that on paper? Those 5 figures? Yeah, I did. And do you expect to get paid that? Yeah, I do. But that comes in a transition. You don't, I mean, now some people do. They come out of the gate and they usually have a very weak value proposition, but they're very good salespeople. But I wanted my value proposition and what I was requiring as an investment to be in alignment.
Okay.
You grew to learn your value in life.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, I would say you guys have chosen a noble profession as an ex-basketball coach. You guys are out there trying to encourage and other people's other than yourselves. And at the end of the day, you're not going to win every game. Every client is not going to be successful.
Well, and that's a huge part of it too, is that you have to also know that you're not like 100% solely responsible for each and every client's success, right? You know, like life
You're not
coaching, career
responsible at
coaching,
all.
right? Life coaching, career coaching.
Yeah.
It's a process of personal empowerment,
Right.
Mhm.
and so they have to participate.
Right.
They have to do the work.
Correct.
Right? I'm the guide. I'm the space holder. I'm the supporter, the motivator.
The
but
motivator, the
also,
encourager.
yes, right.
Well, part of that is before a person could be successful in anything that they do, they have to take ownership
They
of
do.
where they're at.
They do.
You know, and I just always like to go back to that piece right there because that was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, if you guys have listened to anything that I put out there, anything that I talk about, I always put myself there.
Yeah.
Because you have to start with yourself. Looking at, as my husband always said, look at the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
And if I can't put myself,
In this case, the person.
okay, yeah, the person. I have to put myself.
Pendergrass.
There you go. I have to put myself out there, and you can't help anybody that is unwilling to look at themselves first
Sure.
and
Correct.
deal with their crap.
Right.
Well, y'all, I'm sorry. I got Miss Diana sitting over here on the board, putting up my
Don't be
End of-
sorry this time.
end
was well
of the.
spent.
This has been a. I really don't like when it ends,
Aw.
but I only have so much time, and it's at the 15-minute mark that I have to start wrapping up the show. Oh God! But in wrapping up the show, I always do this. I start with going around the room asking our guests to share their experience coming to the Love and Victory show, being on the Love and Victory show, and then they can also share how our listeners or followers can find you. Um, we have to obviously keep it a little short because we want to get everybody through. And then the last voice you will hear is mine if I don't jump in a time or two. But since we're going to start, since Paul is the furthest away, enjoying vacation, I'm going to start with you, Paul. Would you please tell us what you got out of the show and what you want to leave us with and your experience? Go ahead.
I absolutely love this. I think that we hit on a number of important topics that I think we've got about 20 more shows that we could go down
Yes.
the rabbit hole on each one of these. And it's really been amazing. And yeah, I love that. It's something I'm really passionate about because of my personal history and what I do is really about men communicating better, having emotional literacy, making those connections with other men, because it's an epidemic that has to stop. That personally affected me, and it's affecting more and more people all the time. So thank you for giving the opportunity to put some light on that area. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
And Paul, we'd like to have you on first Saturday also.
Oh.
To come chime in on the male's perspective, should I say?
So we're
Absolutely.
gonna have Crystal reach out to you because Brother Carter chooses who he wants to be on that segment. So wow, Paul, you did your thing.
I am honored.
God bless you.
All righty then, and then on to Kimberly. I'm sorry, I'm looking right at her, but my brain just stopped.
I do that too.
Oh,
I'm
God.
like, you.
Yes, you go ahead.
No worries. Okay, yes, it's been great. I mean, this has been such a fun, dynamic conversation, a lot of amazing perspectives. Like Paul said, I feel like this is just one of possibly, some further parts, like part 2, part 3, right? That we could hop back on and kind of tackle some of these big things. But yeah, it's been a refreshing conversation, and y'all have been so welcoming and so organized and made it very easy for us. So thank you. Thanks for having us, and thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I specifically work with women, mothers, and entrepreneurs. Sometimes they're all of the above, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mission is to really help people learn how to transform stress in their lives, get out of their own way, and really flourish in life and in business and in all areas of their life. I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to choose. They feel like they have to sacrifice one area of their life for another. I do not subscribe to that. And I encourage others not to either. So yeah, I mean, people can find me at encompasscoachingservices.com. They can also connect with me on Instagram, kimberly.brook.smith. And those are pretty much the two best ways to get in touch with me.
And Crystal will put everybody's information up at the bottom of the screen.
Awesome.
Okay, and my window over there.
Oh,
Wonderful.
you're so sweet. Of course, I love being here, and I always love a good conversation, and I believe that it was fruitful for us, and in that hope that it was fruitful for others as well.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
So y'all let us know if it was fruitful. Don't
be shy.
Don't be shy. Let us know if it
Don't
was
be shy.
fruitful.
Yes,
But
comment,
yeah,
subscribe.
absolutely. Well, these days I am knee deep in content and content creation. Still empowering those high achieving business owners, coaches, and leaders to shift into more money, love, and purpose, empowered by the rallying cry, be your own superhero. To that end, you can find me at stephonoutube.com and stephaniedmckenzie.com.
All right, then. And to Mrs. Diana, what was your experience and what did you get out the show today?
Well, first, I just want to thank you all for just being here and for taking time out of your day, because I know it's a Saturday and you probably would have wanted to do other things, but just that healing is very important and that we should be focusing on ourselves before trying to help all these other people.
Wow, that was deep.
Absolutely.
That
Love
that
that.
was deep there. Crystal?
Let me finish typing everybody's stuff. Kyrie can go.
Oh, that's right. She is down there. Kyrie, you want to go ahead? What did you get out of the show today? There you go.
I got a lot of footage from this show. I was editing right now. You guys said a lot of thoughtful things, and I like all of what you said. Some of it resonated with myself, so I think that this was a good show.
Okay, then. All righty. And now I know, Crystal, I got you doing 50 billion things over there at one time. Thank you, Crystal.
Trying to.
You do it.
First off, I definitely want to thank everybody for answering that message and call when I did ask them to be a part of this show today. It means a lot just for you to be with us and being candid with our listeners at 7:00 in the morning. So, especially for Mr. Paul, when he first told me he was living his best life, that threw me off to the loop. I said, okay. But no, I definitely appreciate that, because even though he is living his best life, he did want to take this time and still be a part about this journey about healing and personal self-healing. So thank you. And thank you, Miss Kimberly. She didn't know me from a can of paint, but immediately said yes after I asked. And Miss Stephanie was automatic a go. It was like okay. So I thank everybody for just being really candid and just honest. And I look forward to having this second conversation. So
all right,
y'all be getting more emails and stuff from me.
Love it.
Yeah. And Brother Carter.
The Reawakening of the Soul is the name of the subject matter at hand. I want to thank Miss Stephanie, Miss Kim, Mr. Paul for being on the show today. Special thanks to you, Paul, being all the way out there in Bulgaria, you say, yeah? Yes.
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, yes. It's a long way off, man. So we appreciate you being on the show, and likewise to the ladies that's on the panel. The one thing I like to say about the show is the word forgiveness. We'll not leave without speaking on that thing. It's very, very, very important that we learn how to forgive ourselves in the midst of trying to forgive others. So let's pay close attention to those things, because it's liberating. It's freedom behind it. It's you can take some weights off your life when you learn how to get in touch with that word forgiveness. So just take some time and study on it and read about it and learn all you can about forgiveness, because it can help you in the day.
Amen.
Amen.
And from me, your host, Val, I am so grateful. I am so honored to have each one of you all sit on this panel. You guys have fed my soul, and I know that you have fed the listener's soul. You keep doing what you're doing. You guys are truly walking your calling. If you never heard someone tell you, I'm going to tell you, you're in your calling. You're walking your calling, because it's so genuine. It's so natural. And I love the fact that you guys just put yourself out there. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for getting up this morning. Thank you for supporting the Love and Victory show with Val and Brother Carter. And
keep on coaching.
Keep on coaching. Keep on doing what you're doing, because you guys are helping and healing one client at a time. and just know that there is a reason that the job that you guys was holding down just didn't fit your spirit, because God had designed something completely different and bigger for you all. So
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
I'm just thankful to have you guys. And to my awesome staff, I could not do this. We could not do this. You guys make it all look easy, because they come in every day, head down, working hard, making sure that we have the right fit that really vibe with the Love and Victory show. There is something that we're unwilling to compromise, and we're unwilling to compromise what God has placed in front of us. There will only be people that really are selfless in wanting to help others that will sit on this platform. So I thank you guys. I am grateful. And Crystal, how do they find us?
Before she go there,
Okay.
want to also take a moment to thank the listeners, the viewers out there that are on YouTube. Thank you for tuning into the show, getting up early this morning and tuning in. Want to thank the people on Raise the Praise Radio,
Thank you, baby.
Houston, where many listeners and viewers are there. Yep. And we truly appreciate you tuning in to the Love and Victory Show with Val. Thank you. God bless you. And
Crystal, how do they find us? Thank you, baby.
Well,
Okay.
they can find us on anywhere. The Love and Victory Show with Val on Instagram, LV with Val on Facebook. The Love and Victory Show with Val on YouTube. The Love and Victory Show with Val, where you have to subscribe to get this notification about this good Candid Conversation every Saturday morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on Raise the Praise 100. And you can also find us on www.lvwithval, because everything is Love and Victory, and everything is Love and Victory with Val.
Now y'all understand. And if we can, say goodbye to Paul and everybody. Turn to the camera. We love you guys. Thank y'all so much. Until next time.